I had a special request just now to show some of my desk pens, and I have a lot of them. And I do have a collection of actual matching desk pens, and but I'm not going to show those just because they're all over the place. So I'll show you essentially the ones that have no bases. They have no basis for being collected when they don't have any bases by many people's opinions, but I like them because I use them without, I mean, this part of the pen you don't need while you're actually using it. This is the working part. This is the closet. You put it back in when it's done. So I have these three that do have bases. Just to start off my little discussion, these are all Waterman pens of the same era. They're quite interesting. They're made during the late 40s and 50s, and they sort of look like that. They have this slightly pointed letter opener, maybe, end to them. And I have three different kinds of nibs in these. And what I'm going to use is just sort of dirty water to dip them into, so the lettering, the writing is going to be sort of gray, but rather than contaminating the nib with a particular color that's hard to get out once you've contaminated it without lots of cleaning, you'll just see them right. So this one is a typical Waterman nib, springy, somewhat flexible, or a lot flexible depending on your point of view. And then I have a stub nib in one, and the other one is an accountant nib, or nib that works like an accountant nib. Very, very fine, just slightly flexible. So these are sort of three siblings that are all have different personalities. And these do not have bases. Somehow Waterman bases seem kind of rare. I don't know why. Their sockets might have been poorly designed and they break, or something. But these bases that I have are brand X bases, which actually work. It's a $20 desk pen. This is when I tried to sell this with a pen in it, an off-brand pen at an antique shop I once had, antique booth I was selling pens at, and I ended up keeping it because no one bought it, for one, and I realized that these pens fit very nicely in this socket, probably better than the Waterman pen socket that they actually had. These are very snugly fitting so that they don't dry out. So these are three matching pens, more or less, with three matching, more or less, bases. Same kind of marble, more or less. Okay, now let's go to the ones that don't have any bases to confuse us. One of the drawers I had these in it. And why these were in that drawer, I'm not entirely sure. I think these were in the drawer because I hadn't sorted them out yet. I hadn't put them, these are maybe recent acquisitions, and bought them at pen shows or on eBay in pen lots. I occasionally will buy a desk pen on eBay without a base if I think I can use the nib. So I'll buy those. So these are all variations of nibs. This one is a big stub nib. It wasn't made to be a big stub nib, but the nib is broken. And I just smoothed, it's just gold, it's not iridium on the end of it, so it's going to wear down, but it works perfectly fine for the few times I need a pen that will write like this. And so I shoved it in a Conklin desk pen holder I had. What kind of... Where's my magnifying glass when I need it? It's a Carter nib, a large Carter nib. Let's see, what do I have in this one? Here's another stub nib. This is in a Waterman, and this might be a Waterman nib. Yes, it is a Waterman nib, and this is not broken, I don't believe. Let me get my loop out just to see. Every once in a while I do get nibs that are broken and an iridium is missing or a big chunk of the gold is missing. And I will turn it into a workable stub nib. This one does have its iridium, and it is a Waterman number 5 size or 4 size? 4. It's a number 4 size nib, and it's in a probably 5 size pen. So sue me. Here's a Schaefer that has a stiff, slightly stub nib on it. And these pens, I guess these are all kind of stubs, come to think of it. These, well, that's not a stub, that's an accountant nib. So again, my filing system is not functioning. But they're in a drawer by themselves, and I will put them back in a drawer by themselves. I can find the right drawer. Put these back. Except not that one. That one stays out, because that's not a stub. Okay, what else do we have here? There's this batch. I think this is another Motley grouping. Here's, you know, parts of a perfectly good Parker. I need to put a nib in it. There is a barrel that looks like this, but I don't have it, so now I've got this, which is perfectly fine. Another Parker. Is this a Parker or a Moore pen, maybe? Maybe a Swan pen, I don't even know. Let me take a look under my loop. It's a Moore pen. Some Moore desk pens are really quite lovely, but they still have the Moore nib in them, which are often fragile. And I don't know what their problem was. Here's a Swan desk pen, hard rubber, with a Swan number 4 nib. Parker Vacuumatic with a broken taper. Schaefer, another Schaefer. Schaefer. Again, what nibs I put in these will determine how often I will use them. Esterbrook, another Conklin, All-American pen. A Motley group. None of those are amazing. The ones that are amazing, I think, maybe are here. These I use with specific color inks. So the blue pens I use with blue ink, green with, not that I have that many jobs that I have to use green ink, but green was a popular color, so there's lots of green pens. The Ripple, I use either red ink or brown ink with the Ripple. More pens I use with red or brown. These are with red. Most of these have flexible, somewhat flexible nibs. Wood grain. I guess with the wood grain I use brown inks. The Ripples and wood grain I use brown. With the plastic coral colors, whether they're Wall Eversharp or some other company. This is a Greishaber, I think. No, National Pen. Blue ink. Black with black ink. This is another Moore. Really nice nib on this one. And more Schaefer's. So these live happily, more or less, in a drawer that I have here at my desk. And if I have a job where I need to do like one quick little thing and I have to use red ink, I might just go to one of these pens and do the job, just because I don't have to worry about cleaning out another pen for that. Okay, I've got one more drawer to put these in. Where did it go? There it is. So anyway, this is okay. Let's just have a catastrophe. This is how I have my working pens sorted out. The other pens in these drawers are generally, just aim this up so you can see. The bottom two drawers are sort of my working pens, usually with black ink and various degrees of flexibility. I usually remember what nibs they have. And oh, there's more desk pens here. I knew I had more of them. And that's where they are. There's one drawer here, extra fine pens. I have stub pens here, stub nibbed pens there. And then on this side, these are where I have my Franken pens that are made of Victorian era dip pen nibs. And they're relegated by their degree of flexibility in their sort of action. Sloppy, these are the wettest noodles that I've got, which I don't use very often. These are tight, they're really sharp, you have to use a lot of pressure to make them work, but really nice. Snappy are ones that are kind of wet noodly, but they snap right back, so they're wet noodles but not sloppy ones. So that's essentially what you got, what I've got. So desk pens without bases can be perfectly functional if you have a nice desk with a nice place to put them. And if your desk is not tilted, like my desk is, you won't worry about them rolling off. And if it is tilted, as my desk is, you have to make sure to set them like that rather than like this, because they will roll right off the desk. So we'll end with these, what I began with. Here's my accountant nib, the one that whispers. Here's my stub nib, the one that talks really loud all the time, the Jackie Gleason kind of a pen, no whispers. And the last one is the standard Waterman flexible nib. These three pens could probably suit me for the rest of my life without ever having to use any other pen. But what fun would that be? What fun.